The next factor is a huge one. Is it worth it mentally? Going off-grid is not a prison term.
Good day everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Your Topic, My Take, where I discuss issues and questions that you, the viewer, are most interested in. Today's topic is centered around off-grid living, and is it really worth it? I get asked this a lot, and given it's almost a year to the day when our off-grid life began, the timing couldn't be more perfect to let you know, honestly, is it worth it? Grab yourself a coffee or tea and sit back as I reminisce. You just might be surprised at what my answer will be.
Well, I'm still hauling around those bricks in my knapsack wherever I go because my fitness test got put off for a week or so. Problems with the obstacle course, so worked out good for me. A little bit more time to practice. And these bricks will come in handy. I got a little idea here. I love to find new and interesting ways to have a campfire, a little lunch. A lot of you have seen me use this grill, this bitty Big Q. Nice grill. Everybody seems to be getting them. You just open up. I'm just going to see if I can make it fit. In fact, I think it's going to fit perfectly. Right on top of this stove here. Here we go. So our fire season is not open until next week here, so still got a bit of time to have an open fire in the woods, so today is a perfect day for it. So this is that rabbit you saw me bottle a couple videos ago. I've had a couple of bottles of it already. It is de-scrumptious. Is that even a word? Can't forget that little bit of juice on the bottom. So, it's been about a year, like I mentioned. Off-grid living. Is it worth it? Wherever I go, Tim Hortons lineup, don't matter, Walmart, people come visit. They look at you and ask you that in a variety of different ways. You know, they say, what's it like, boy? Is it what you thought it would be? What's it really like? It's asked in a variety of ways, and it all means the same thing. Now, if I'm just in the lineup in a grocery store or something, and someone asks me that, you know, I just say, yes, boy, it's good. Because you only got a second, right? But for people who really want to know what it's like, and I'm only a year in, but it was a really hectic year, and I made it through the first winter, of course, which is by far, I think, the biggest challenge of all. The real answer is to look at it a couple different ways. First of all, financially. That's another way people would ask me the question, like, is it cheaper? Is it really cheaper? Well, in my case, I'm lucky. Just later on in life, and I was not wealthy by any means, but financially stable. So I was already at a good place in my life, and the kids are young adults now and pretty much finished school and underway. I had some other investments, and like I say, not wealthy, but in a pretty good place. Of course, then I sold my home. My son Andrew bought it. And I certainly had the capital to go ahead and purchase my log cabin kit, which, by the way, I did a tremendous amount of research on in all sorts of different companies. And the deal I got through Adventure Log Homes, actually none of the other ones could touch it. And I couldn't be happier with the price, and I could not be happier with the product. And bear in mind now that I already had an established cabin there for 20 plus years. So I owned the land, I owned that cabin, and I owned everything inside of that cabin. So anything that went inside of this new cabin, I took a major portion of it from my old cabin. Propane range, fridge, beds, mattresses, whatever. So I was already tens of thousands of dollars in there. So that got me started, no problem. I don't have a big fancy windmill system or a big fancy solar system. My windmill cost me $500. My solar panels, I think they add up to about like $1,800 for the full kit. So again, nothing extraordinary. And you can get them cheaper than that even. So I'm set up. So what are the costs then? Well, of course, a big thing is I have no mortgage. I have no town taxes, no water tax, no poll tax, no sewer tax, no garbage taxes. So that is a tremendous savings. Of course, one of the most, the biggest investments you'll have in your life and the most costly is a house. Well, that stove was working out perfect. So my reoccurring monthly costs, you know, give or take a few things, but I have a Starlink satellite system. It costs me like $150 a month or something like that, and that's phone, internet, everything is all in that one package. I burn propane, but I get the lower cost propane. It gets delivered right to my cabin, which is super convenient because I use it as somewhat of a home heating fuel as well. And I'm guessing that's going to cost me about $40 a month. And then people say, aha, what about your gas? You know, you got to drive back and forth to town. Well, if you do the math, I think I burn less gas. Because when I was in town, you were tempted 3 or 4 times a day to get aboard your vehicle, go to Walmart, or go somewhere for a coffee, or go visit someone, and you were just on the go. And I would put 70 or 80 kilometers easy on my vehicle in town, starting, stopping, starting, stopping. Whereas if I'm down here, I don't use my truck very much at all, and I only go back to town when I have to. So it's arguable that I burn less fuel. The diesel I burn in my tractor is such a small, it's so minimal, it's not even worth calculating into a monthly cost, really. So financially, best kind. I'm ready to eat. Now what about physically? Is it worth it physically? I am by no means the fittest person you'll ever meet, and I will never be featured on the front cover of a fitness magazine. Don't look for it, because it won't happen. However, I do look after myself in that I'm just exercising, just doing regular chores, actually. Aspen, you're kind of stealing the show there, which you normally do on a daily basis. But one thing I will say that I am not, and that's lazy. I was never a lazy person. I am very active. I've told you before, I wake up in the morning, I'm excited about the day, and I'm excited about just doing regular things. And I find that doing basic things around the cabin are not extremely demanding, but they're nice. And the more modern conveniences you have back in town, you have electricity, you don't have to go get wood and stuff. So what do you do in place of that? Well, you probably just sit around. Well, I don't just sit around. Sometimes I do, absolutely. But for the most part, I'm busy every day. And that makes me very happy. I mean, again, there are certain things that you have to do. You have to go get wood. You have to stay warm, right? I guess if you look at it, being forced is a great motivator. Man, oh man. That's why it's worth putting those carrots in there. They just soak up all the juice. People think, like, look at hares or rabbits and say, well, oh no, that's gross. Just look at it. It's one of the most delicious, tenderest meats you'll ever eat. Oh my. How can I ever make you guys believe that food is so tasty? The next factor is a huge one. Is it worth it mentally? Now, of course, when I meet people, they say to me, Chuck, you're living the dream. I'm going to do that someday. And if anything, if it motivates people to try this way of life, then great. But you have to be prepared for it. I've literally spent thousands of nights in cabins and tents and campers for long periods of time with no conveniences whatsoever. And I've had some really bad trips. But when I look back at it, it was a learning experience and it prepared me for today. As mentioned, I had another cabin in the same spot for 20 years, so I know this area very well. I know what's around me that I need to get to survive here. And I've spent months in that cabin. So I know what to expect, 100%. To just go to your cabin every second weekend for a night or two, anybody can do that and think it's wonderful. And it is wonderful. Well, I would challenge you, if you're very serious about considering this move, then go to your cabin for a month. And I mean go there for a month. Live there, don't go back home and, get back to civilization and come back to your cabin again. Go live there for a full month. See how you feel then. That's a good start for getting you prepared for what you may encounter every day. Myself, this was always my plan. I didn't come down here when my kids were small because I wanted them to have a social life in school and stuff. But I knew that as soon as the kids were set underway and I was happy with that, then it would be the time for me to seriously consider moving here on a full-time basis. So I consider myself to have been ready maybe years ago, really, mentally. And here's one thing that you need to think about. Going off-grid is not a prison term. People think, oh my, you're gone off-grid, like where are you gone? Well, it's nice knowing you type thing, and nothing could be farther from the truth. When you choose to do this, no one says you have to stay there until you die. I can leave tomorrow if I want to. I can stay for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Who knows how long I'll stay here? But chances are, I will have to move eventually as I go along in life, whether I just want to, or, like in most cases, people sometimes gravitate towards hospitals and more modern conveniences as they get old and they have health problems. So I have no set, determined time. I just know I'm here today. If you have someone who's your partner, then obviously they have to be on the same page as well. It's no good for one person just be thinking this way and then drag along someone else, because I don't think it would work. Kettle's boiled. Right on cue. I tell you what, guys, I'm getting pretty comfortable here now. Just might be nappy time after this. So I set out and made my cabin fairly comfortable. I could have had the most rustic thing. No running water, no hot water, no shower, no solar. Just use the candle if I wanted, but I want to be comfortable. And I want people who come into my home. We have a lot of guests who come, and we love that. We love it when people show up and want to see the cabin, and they want to know what the real off-grid experience is like. So I want it to be comfortable. I chose that way, and I'm very happy that I did, actually. But I live a very busy life in town. 3 or 4 jobs I had my whole life, ran small businesses my whole life, and I was busy, very mentally occupied all the time. Knowing that one day I'd be able to kind of let that rest a bit. And now is the time. It's the perfect time, actually, for me. I love nothing more than to get up this morning, have a cup of coffee, and then come out in the woods and work on this wood path. And even though this winter is just over, you need to prepare yourself for upcoming events as well. And I know that you guys see it through my other videos that I absolutely love everything that happens daytime here. And even on those days when it could be raining, showers, or it's cold enough to skin you, or it's a snowstorm, I love those days too. I just stay in the cabin, I watch the fire, we have internet so I can watch a movie. And dreams. People have all sorts of dreams. They want to get a sports car. They want to get their master's degree. They want to climb, I don't know, Mount Everest. This was always my dream, to get back to this life, because keep in mind, I grew up in a small community with about 60 people into it. And this is actually pretty much exactly how we lived growing up. We had electricity, but everything else we had to look after ourselves. I gotta warm up a couple pieces of that banana bread now to go with that coffee I got there. Don't look good, do it? Mercy, mercy, mercy. You like banana bread? Oh, yes. Oh my. It's so good, it's actually disappointing, because you know you only got 4 or 5 bites and it's gone. And I gotta pay the sweet tax with the dogs. You guys only see a little fraction of our lives down here. I get up and I go outside, the dogs have a free life. They never have to be leashed on. I go outside with a coffee. I never have to worry about anybody watching me. And as ridiculous as this sounds, I go out sometimes and I can't sing a note. And I could be singing to the top of my lungs because I know nobody hears me. And you might think that's weird. I don't think so. It's a huge part of this mental factor, which is the biggest factor, like I mentioned, because when you're content, then you're happy. And you've heard me say it, I say it right now again. I cannot be happier than what I am right now. 2 dogs here, a little fire, cup of tea, cutting a wood path in the woods, beautiful day, blue skies, warm temperatures. I mean, come on. I challenge you, if you're in town today, will you think you'd feel this happy? We have no noise pollution. We have no light pollution. I've never heard a siren yet. Every day I watch the sunrise. Every evening I watch the sunset. I've never seen as many Northern Light shows in my life as what I've seen since I came down here. So I am very, very grateful and very, very blessed, actually. Oh, 2 ducks just flew over. And I'll end off this video with a real life example that happened this winter. As mentioned, people stop by all the time wanting to see the cabin, wanting to see how it works out, how we feel about it and stuff. And one day I was sat down with an elderly gentleman, and he came in and he looked around and he said, "Wow, this is so beautiful." And he gave me a hug and he said, "Chuck, I'm so proud of you. You know, when you first started, I wondered how it was going to turn out." He said, "I can't believe what you actually built with your own hands." And I said, "Thank you, because it is a great feeling." And we sat down, we had a cup of tea, and as we were sitting there, I was just talking, I looked across and I could see what appeared to be a tear on his cheek, but I wasn't sure. And then I could see it running, and then I could see another tear, and I really didn't know what was happening because we were just talking about whatever, you know, the cabin. And when this continued, I felt that I had to ask him. You know, I didn't know what was coming. I knew he was crying, and I was waiting for him to say, "Oh, you know, this bad news was coming." I thought so. So I asked him, I said, "Are you crying?" And he said, "Well, just a little bit." And I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I just realized something." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "I just realized my whole life, my dream was to do exactly what you're doing right now." And that was too late. And I thought about that literally for days, trying to let it soak in, you know, and the only bit of goodness I could bring out of that moment was the fact that I would never have to say that. And if I have to leave here literally tomorrow, I'll know that it was my dream and I tried. Anyway, guys, I do have a lot of work to do today. I'm going to finish off this section of trail today. That's my goal. Thank you for tuning in to another video where it's your topic, my take. Tune in for future videos, and until the next video, take care of each other, get outside, and enjoy everything outdoors. And we'll see you next time. Guaranteed. Change plans. I think I'm just going to lie here and take a 5-minute/15-minute nap. Don't tell anyone. Said I wanted to take a nap. Take your dogs with you, they said. It will be relaxing, they said. Weirdos!
Get outside and enjoy.